My name is Nina Dicker. That is Dicker, like penis. It is my legal name. It is not a stage name. If you are mentally preparing yourself to hear jokes about my last name, you can actually just visit my YouTube channel and check out every comment left by a man. I post a lot of videos talking about my body and my sexuality, so I get a lot of comments calling me a slut, which, fair. But I prefer to think of myself as a very competitive bisexual. I do have what some people might call an extreme fixation on sex, but not like in like a sexy way. You know what I mean? Like, as a kid, I would get home from school and I'd spend approximately 3 to 4 hours on Pornhub, and I saw everything. Straight, gay, the entire Scooby-Doo porno movie. Which, by the way, amazing production value. It should really be behind a paywall. But unfortunately, nobody taught me what incognito mode was. So I walk into the living room one night as my mom is using my laptop to Google a pork recipe. And I just watch the search bar just go through the table, into the floor, into the center of the earth. And she just turns and looks at me and goes, Nina. And I'm like, Mom, no. Everything became slow motion. She grabs the laptop like an angry little goblin. She's just a very small woman. And she goes, what is this? And like all my siblings are in the living room, so she looks at me, she's like, bedroom now. And we run and she throws my laptop in front of me and I'm like, whoa, what is that? And she goes, that's your fucking search history, Nina. And she starts rattling off all of the websites. She's like, Pornhub, xxx.hamster, Mimi whore. And I was like, well, that was actually pronounced meme whore. It's a Tumblr page. It's not porn. Some of it's porn. But it's predominantly memes. I know it's a little confusing because it has the word whore in the title, but that one is not porn. The rest of it is porn. And she looks at me and she goes, Jesus Christ, Nina. So you've just been touching yourself to this crap? And I'm like, Mom, oh my God. I'm supposed to be touching myself? I just thought I was doing what all the other kids were doing, building an Excel spreadsheet, mapping out the best sexual positions, dirty talk phrases, and pitches to moan at. Because I'd learned there's a big difference between and Again, this was not a sexy thing. This was a competitive thing. Like, I had to know more than every other kid at my school. I was about to be the most educated bitch on the back of my short bus. Wait. There wasn't like a reason that I was on a short bus. Well, listen, I lived in a very windy neighborhood and the long buses couldn't make it around the turns. And I know this is true because my mom told me. But I just feel really lucky because besides that, I just really didn't have a traumatic childhood. And I got to grow up and move to Los Angeles, California, the least traumatic city in the world. Things in LA did start out rough, but I finally come into my own. Actually, last year I wrote and published my very first book. Thank you. Yeah. It's called Tangerine Vagina, True Stories of Childhood Misfortune and Meaningless Sex. And Google it. And since publishing Tangerine Vagina, I've actually pulled in 6 figures. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 2 of those figures are behind the decimal point. Still counts. But tonight, I want to tell you the story that catapulted me and my book to number 69 on Amazon's humorous erotica bestseller list. That's not a joke, that's true. I'm 14. I am a freshman in high school. My parents decided to get a puppy. Just kidding, a divorce. So I decided to lash out by doing that thing that we all do. Say it with me. Banging the emo kid in the class above me. Which I was going to do anyways, but now I had a fantastic excuse. This kid worked part-time at the Planned Parenthood, which was so hot. Because that meant he could get me discounts on abortions, I'm assuming. I show up to his place, which is empty because his parents neglected him, which was also so hot. Because that meant he wanted my attention that much more. So, as we're making out of his back pocket, he whips out a packet of tangerine-scented lube that he'd lifted from the local Planned Parenthood. And at this point, I'm just confused. Because, I'm 14. I'm aroused by a slight gust of wind and a poorly drawn cartoon character. I was lube. But I was also a people pleaser, so I decided not to let him in on the fact that I was indeed a homemade indoor water slide. So this literal child proceeds to squeeze the entire packet of lube into his hand, and I'm not talking like a soy sauce size packet. I am talking like white sauce from Halal Guys sized packet, like fun for the whole family. And so this kid has an overflowing fistful of lube, so he scoops half of it into my hand, and now he and I both have fistfuls of lube. So he lathers his all over his naked member, and then he and I stretch the condom over the lubed up peen. And then he proceeds to put more lube on the outside. The only way I can describe the look and texture of this boy's schlingeting region is, do you guys remember that toy from the 90s? It was squishy and it was filled with oil and glitter and has a hole in the middle. Yeah. I could not remember what those were called, but I did find them. All I had to do was Google baby's first pocket pussy and it popped right up. But don't forget, at this point, I still have a fistful of lube. So I just start kind of scooping it into all the folds, turning all the pages. But I still have so much lube, so I just kind of start wiping it on my chest and my abdomen and then my arms for some reason. So at this point, I am full body slugging. Just ready for penetration. And so he comes over, lines it up, gives one good thrust, gets about halfway, gives one more thrust, and then he goes, and then he rolls over. And then he gets up and he starts getting dressed. And then he looks down at me, a slip and fall victim. And he goes, I'm gonna go for a jog, so you can't stay here. As I am actively cosplaying a sexually disappointed eel. Fast forward, I am in my shower at home, covered head to toe in lube. I look like one of those baby propaganda ducks that's been caught in an oil spill from those Dawn soap commercials. And I am, the only thing distracting me from my humiliation is this weird citrus smell that I can't quite figure out where it's coming from, because I've already exfoliated off the first 10 layers of my epidermis. And so as I'm bending over to pick up more soap, I realize the tangerine scent had absorbed itself into the soul of my uterus. My vagina smelled like an orange bukkake. Like a Tangelo gangbang. It was so bad that the next day, I'm sitting there in English class like a normal bisexual. And my English teacher just walks in, he stops next to my desk and he goes, "Oh, who brought a clementine to class?" At that point, I was sure my children were gonna come out citrus scented. The scent did fade eventually, in case anyone's wondering. But not my inclination to people please to a fault. Actually, a few years later, I did give that guy a second chance. Shut up. Yeah, I bought us a hotel room with my own money for us to perform coitus. And during missionary, he burped in my face. And that was not tangerine scented. Thank you so much for coming to my therapy session. Are we ready to get this show rolling? Beautiful.